Thrifting is an awesome way to not only save money, but also accessorize your home with unique and one-of-a-kind items. I'm sharing my best tips to keep in mind while you're thrifting and 25 of my favorite thrift flips, starting with this, I'm guessing was a toilet paper holder. You never know what you're going to find. Wood items are a favorite thrift find for me because you can paint it, restain it, or completely disassemble it to make it something new, like I'm going to do with this piece. And here's where that money savings comes in. This piece was only $4.67, and at minimum to buy brand new wood to recreate this project, you'd be spending a minimum of $7. So pretty good savings right off the bat. And we are just gonna disassemble this and take it all apart so we have each individual piece of wood. I'm not gonna lie, I did keep the heart piece on the front, but I have no idea what to do with it. So if you have any suggestions or ideas, please leave those down in the comments below for me. With Valentine's Day coming up, I'm sure those hearts would come in handy for something. So we're basically just disassembling this whole thing so we have nice clean wood, and we also want to make sure we take all of the nails out that were left behind from the previous build. And we are now going to turn this wood into a planter. So I took one of those longer pieces and I cut it down into 3 6.5-inch pieces, which is going to be the front of our planter box, and I left one of those pieces long for the back. Now the bottom I did not end up using. It had a warp in it, so it didn't sit flat. So I did go ahead and sand it, but then didn't use it in the end, and I'll have to use some scrap wood to put the bottom on this piece. But I'm using 80 grit sandpaper here to just sand off all of the old finish and have nice clean wood to now work with. So now we are going to build this piece with some 1 1/4-inch brad nails and my brad nailer, but if you don't have these tools, you can use wood glue and clamp it, or you can use a regular hammer and nails. So this is going to be the front and 2 sides of our planter, and then that longer piece is going to be the back side of our planter. Again, just adding that in there and then throwing a few brad nails in to keep it into place. But again, of course, use whatever you have, whether it's nails or wood glue works for this too. So now we need to make the bottom. So I did have enough scrap left over from this piece to cut a bottom piece to the right size so it would sit right on the bottom of this planter. Just laid it on its side and used a few brad nails to keep it in place. I love this project since it is all reclaimed and repurposed wood, so hit your scrap stash, and depending on what size wood you have left over, you can adjust the measurements here to make one bigger or smaller with your own scraps. Now the fun part, making it your own. I'm going to be using some early American wood stain just to give this some color, and since it's a planter, this is also going to protect the wood from the soil and the water that I'm going to be adding to this. If you're going to be using this inside with some artificial plants, you can do whatever you want here. You can paint it, just make sure to seal it if you are going to be using it with live plants. And then I have a vinyl machine, so I just cut out a decal to add onto the back side here, but you can also use some paint pens or freehand a design with a paintbrush and paint, and you can even have this have your house number on it, your last name on it, a welcome sign, whatever fits your decor or wherever you're going to be putting it. Just customize it so it works for you. So here's my new beautiful planter. Who would have ever known it was a toilet paper holder? And we're just going to add that decal onto the front here using some transfer tape to put it on there, make sure it is nice and even, and then use a squeegee to press it down onto the back of the planter, and we have a really custom, beautiful look. And again, like I said, who would have known this ever was a toilet paper holder? And I also love that it is custom. It is really, really pretty. And if you are going to be using this for live plants, definitely add a few holes into the bottom so you have some drainage. Now, I don't know about you, but I am so excited to start gardening again. I am creating this video in January after a huge ice storm that we just had here and below freezing temperatures. So seeing my little planting station on our back porch just gives me so much joy to see, and it gives me so much excitement to finally get to springtime when I can start gardening and creating flowers and more outdoor decor again. But here is the finished result. Again, toilet paper holder from the thrift store turned into a brand new planter that I am so proud of. So one other thing that I did keep from this original piece was the little plunger dowel rod insert thing that I still also do not know what to do with. I definitely kept it, as I know round dowels come in handy for other projects. So if you have ideas, leave those down in the comments below for me. This was another one of my favorite thrift store finds last year. It was this beautiful blue sea glass vase. $10.77, but definitely has a very high-end look. And instead of a vase, I decided to use mine as a lamp base. So I'm going to show you this really cool Amazon find. It is a light bulb that you can recharge, which is super duper cool. And you can actually turn it off and on and adjust the brightness with a remote control. So cool. So I'll definitely link this down in the description box below for you if you're needing something like this. Be great for a closet or a place where you just need a little additional light, but maybe don't have an outlet nearby. So we're gonna take this vase, we're definitely gonna clean it up. I always suggest using some Germ-X to clean things, or some crud cutter, or microban, something that's gonna disinfect it really well. Always take the stickers off, obviously. And a little trick here is you can even use some hand sanitizer to get some of that gunk and goo left behind with the sticker on glass pieces too. So it kind of does double duty here. Cleans it up, disinfects it. And here is where I'm going to be adding this lamp right next to my bedside table. I had a little harp that I had from Walmart. You can find these on Amazon too. I'll link some down below for you. I just kind of stuck it down into the inside of the vase and secured it with some glue. We're going to add this light bulb right down on the inside there, put my lampshade on, and it's just turned into a instant lamp. Our bedroom, we just refinished into more of a coastal vibe. We love Florida and the beach, so we wanted our bedroom to have that calming vibe, and this was such a great way to create a very high-end looking lamp, but on a budget by thrifting that vase. I also love being able to turn the light off and on with the remote and adjust the temperature of the light and the dimness too. Next up, I found this set of 3 galvanized metal canisters at the thrift store. It cost about $15 for the set of 3, but I actually have 4 different ideas of how to use these. So keep your eye out, or maybe you already have some in your home and your stash that you're not quite sure what to do with. Well, here's 4 ideas that I hope give you some inspiration. So as I mentioned in the last project, you always want to disinfect everything. I love microban for this, making sure to get the inside and the outside of these canisters and get those stickers off. So this first idea, I took one of those metal containers and put it in the bathroom as a toilet paper holder. So this is just a little bit more of a modern twist on a toilet paper holder versus the wood one that I thrift flipped in the first project that we did. Very cute to put on a countertop or on a shelf or on the back of your toilet. Now we're going to turn one into a watering can. So as you can see, there is a seam where they welded this metal together. We are going to take that seam and we are going to help use that as a spout for this watering can. You're also going to need a handle. I love these. You can get them from Lowe's for only like $1.50. So I will definitely link those down below for you too. Great bargain and deal on those. I use them for a lot of decorative purposes too. So I just marked the holes onto the front of this canister and then drilled the holes out where I had marked. And then we're going to come in and we're going to make the spout for this watering can. To do that, you're going to need a pair of pliers, and we're going to hold on to the seam where the metal came together and then use a hammer to then hammer out kind of like a point where the pliers are, and that is going to give us a nice spot for the water to pour out of this can. Easy as that, and now we can add our handle on to the can. With those holes, you're just going to use the holes to line up the handle and then add your screws in and then put some nuts on the back so it is secured. Use your pliers to then twist it so they're nice and tight. Easy as that to then be able to add some water into your watering can and use it as a little watering can for your garden. Now for that biggest canister, the largest canister from that set of 3. When I started drilling holes out for the handles in our last project, that is what gave me the inspiration for this project. So we're going to take some painter's tape here and we're going to add it to the can where we're going to be adding our design. So I'm going to be adding it to the top, the bottom, and the middle. You can also take this idea and use it with regular cans that your food comes in, so you can save them or recycle them for decorative purposes. And then just take a marker and put little dots where you're going to drill holes and whatever kind of design that you want. So the middle here, I do have a Dollar Tree star, and it was a perfect size, and I wanted to use this for 4th of July, so this worked out perfectly. I just took my marker and traced the star and then used my drill to go around where I marked, just every half an inch, maybe an inch at the most, in spacing everything out, but making sure to do the points to get that star shape for when I was finished. Now, I do want to mention, I would highly suggest using some gloves when you're doing this because those holes get to be very, very sharp. So don't do what I'm doing here. I didn't have gloves in my workspace and I should have taken the time to go grab some, but I did not. So very, very carefully remove the tape and you're left with that really pretty silhouette design. So you could put a candle in here as long as you don't put a lid on the top of it, or you could do an LED candle, or do what I did, head to Dollar Tree, grab one of these little tap lights. It just takes a few batteries. You can tap it on, put it inside of the canister, and it will light it up, and then you can put a lid on it if you'd like. So I love this so much. It is so pretty, especially when the lights are off, for indoors or for outdoors. It gives you a really pretty glow and a pretty design through those holes. So I had some lids left over from those other canisters, so I thought I would use one to create a really pretty candle holder. So this is a Dollar Tree glass candlestick, and I'm just going to use that as the base here. So definitely want to take the sticker off the bottom, and then we're going to use some E6000 glue, which is perfect for glass and metal, and add that to the top of our candlestick, flip the lid upside down, and stick it right on top. Then we're going to paint this. So depending on the look that you're going for, grab a spray paint, or you could use some pretty chalk paint and give it whatever color you want. I wanted to keep mine that hammered metal look, so to give it a cohesive look, I took it into my workspace and threw it into my spray painting tent and gave this a couple coats of that hammered metal spray paint. Really, really pretty finish. Then you can actually just add whatever you want to the bottom there. You could do sand, you could do moss. I'm doing some river rocks from Dollar Tree here, and then just add your candle right on top. One of the things I try to do when I'm thrifting is find items that are very on trend, and olive trees are super popular right now. And this one was only $2.79. It just really needed a planter base to go in. And I found this one at the thrift store as well. It was from IKEA, only $1, so a great deal here, but I wanted it to have more of a trendy look. And the stone look is also very popular right now. And you can get that finish by just taking some paint and then adding some baking soda to it, and it's going to give it more texture. And I like using chalk paint because it sticks next to everything. It's even this plaster or ceramic style base that I'm using, and it also has texture too. So you're getting extra texture on top of the baking soda texture to really give this that stone look. We're going to cover up the bottom with some Spanish moss, which is also very popular right now, and you can also get a Dollar Tree super duper cheap. So we're just going to add that in there, and we have a piece that costs less than $5. Just zhuzhed it up a little bit with some paint and some moss, and now we have a beautiful piece to add to our decor. Gold frames are super popular right now too, and I found this antique one that was only $2. Finding something that is unique and one of a kind, especially at this price, is a huge win when it comes to me and thrifting. So super excited to find this. It did have some damage to it, so I'm going to show you how to easily update something if you have this problem too. When I flip this over, obviously you can see this was old. It's been around a while, so it had some paper like taped onto the back. It was looking pretty rough, but I was able to salvage the glass, so hung on to that. We are going to then, of course, clean it with some disinfectant here. Very carefully though, we don't want to break it or damage it anymore, but we still need to make sure we disinfect it. If you haven't yet, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any more videos like the one that I'm sharing today. So now we are going to fix that damaged corner with the help of some spackling. So I'm just using a popsicle stick, and we're basically just gonna fill in where there was the missing corner there and let it dry. Once it's dried, we're gonna come in and kind of just sand it and try to shape it and sculpt it so that way we still kind of have the look of the other four corners as best we can. So this is the next day after it's dried, and I would also suggest using a weeding tool if you're trying to recreate some more of the detailed looks in a piece like I'm doing here. Then we can move on to the finish. So I really wanted to still mimic the finish that was already on this piece. I love that gilded antique gold. So we are going to take some black chalk paint here and cover up all of the spackling. That's going to give us a nice base color. And then once that dried, we're going to come in with some Rub and Buff antique gold color, which I will link down below for you. I adore this stuff. And we're going to take a paintbrush and we're going to start adding that Rub and Buff onto where the black paint is, and then every so often we're also going to paint some of this onto the rest of the frame just so it all kind of blends together and has that cohesive look. And this all just really turned out beautifully. It still has that antique look, and it is obviously definitely one of a kind, which I always appreciate. Then you can add whatever picture you want into your frame. I do have some free printables, which I will link down below for you if you're looking for a pretty landscape. I just printed it off and put it on some photo paper and then reinserted the glass, the original glass, and then inserted the photo and reattached it with some tape onto the back, just so I was able to still be able to remove the photo and change it out if I wanted to. So here's another look at the before. This was a great $2 find, but now the after is just beautiful and stunning. I hope you'll keep your eye open for some antique frames at your thrift store, as they are just very, very popular right now and will be so pretty also in a nice gallery wall setting. So This is not a thrift flip, but a thrift find, one that my dog definitely appreciated. I found this bag of tennis balls for $2, a great deal since 3 tennis balls cost almost $2 at Walmart. And I obviously gave these a good clean and then made my puppy super happy for only a couple dollars. So keep your eye out for pet supplies that you can save money on too. Now back to the thrift flipping. I found this great kind of urn style planter. I love finding things like this that just need a little bit of love, not a whole lot. And I wasn't loving the finish on this, so an easy coat of spray paint definitely updated it. I used this oil rubbed bronze, which matched my decor a lot better. So just gave it a couple coats of that and let it dry. And then we are going to also add some really cool things to the inside of this that is super cheap too. So here is the new finish, really pretty. We're gonna grab some things from Dollar Tree, including this 3D wreath form, some of this greenery, and then some foam for the inside to put this all together. So we are going to cut this block of foam down to fit the inside of this vase, and then use some hot glue to secure it. One other thing we're going to add to the top of this foam is some green moss, just using some hot glue that's going to cover up the foam and fill it all in for us. I fell in love with the look of spheres on the top of urns and planters, so we're gonna get that look, that high-end look, with the help of this wire wreath form from Dollar Tree. It comes with these little metal pieces that you attach to each one of the circles at the top and the bottom, but they're silver. So I did want to take this outside and spray paint it the same oil rub bronze so it would match the planter. And here's a great tip and trick. If you take some heavy duty paper clips, open them up, and then take some pliers and cut them in half, you actually have just made your own DIY floral pins and saved yourself a trip to the floral section of the craft store. We are going to cut this excess part off the smaller piece, and as you can see, they're just basically U-shaped pins that are going to help us hold that wire wreath down on top. So we're just going to add some hot glue in here, and then also add some hot glue to each one of those pins to pin the sphere to the foam. And now we can add our floral greenery. Like I said, these are all from Dollar Tree, which are great. This is a huge savings versus ones you likely could find at the craft store, so always check Dollar Tree first. I'm just adding them in randomly around the sphere, front and back, all the sides, so we have a nice even and spaced out look. You can do a couple different kinds of greenery, and this is what it will look like, or this is what it did look like versus after it has been updated and shown a little bit of love. Very, very pretty, very high-end looking, but definitely cost less than $10 to make. Books are a definite must whenever I check out thrift stores because they make great ways to decorate your home on a budget, and they're only $1 each at this thrift store. So here's my tip though. If you just take the covers off the books, a lot of times the books themselves are really pretty. So definitely check out what's underneath those covers and use them for decorating your shelves. You can also use them to stack and then add decorative items on top top of. So I grabbed these two books. I liked that they had the black and the gold and the cream, kind of the neutral tones that matched my decor. So you can do it with the spines facing out, or you can twist them around and have the pages facing out, whichever look matches your decor. I also found this awesome little cloche, which was only a couple dollars. Cleaned that up and just sanded it a little bit so it looked a little bit nicer. And then you can add whatever kind of decorative item into the cloche that matches your decor or matches the season. I found this other book that had some gold pages on it. This one was $2 though. It was in a different section than the book section. So keep your eyes open for items like this as well. Just take the cover off, and I love the bit of metallic glistening of these pages. So I also use that to layer with these books. And then, as I said, you can add seasonal items into the cloche. I found these beautiful brass bunnies in the Target dollar spot, so they were super affordable. But you can also find any kind of little figurine or ceramic piece and spray paint it with some gold leafing spray paint and get a similar look. Baskets are another item I always keep my eyes open for at the thrift store, and this guy looked really interesting and was only $1. So we're gonna take this home with us. We are gonna clean it up with some disinfectant spray, cut off the handles, and have a really cool kind of raised tray look that we can then decorate with. Now, I preach getting these 10 snips from Walmart. They're only $5. Pick them up on your next trip. They are perfect for cutting through thin wood and wicker and plastic and metals, and it will save your nice scissors that you need for crafting. So I will link these down in the description box below for you. Just grab some. They are so worth the $5 whenever you are crafting items and need to cut through something that's a little bit more difficult than just paper or felt or fabric. So here is our basket, handles taken off. This is what it looked like before, and then this is what it looks like after I added another one of those cute little brass bunnies on it, set it on top of another one of my thrifted books, and a little topiary. So cute, and I love this so much for only $1. Glass canisters can be kind of pricey, so definitely check the thrift store and see if you can find some there. This set of 2 is only $5, and I wanted them for our kitchen to put some of our dry goods in, but unfortunately the lids didn't have that airtight seal or rubber gasket or anything in there. So what I did is I found this silicone, food safe silicone on Amazon. I'll link it down below for you. And I'm actually just gonna add a bead of this silicone to the underside of these lids, making sure I get a really clean circle all the way around so I get that airtight seal. You let this sit overnight, and then you can use it with your food, which is exactly what I did. I added a label onto the front of these, and they look perfect in our new kitchen. And here's what the lids look like the next day after they have dried all the way. And then my labels, which I found on Amazon, I've used these for everything. My spices, my dry goods, some of the items that I have in my pantry for pastas and things like that. So I will link these labels down in the description box below. It just really gives your canisters a really nice high-end and trendy look for like less than $10. So I'll link them down below for you. I'm going to be adding some powdered sugar and some sea salt into these 2 thrifted containers, and you'll see how nicely these now pair with my other canisters, but still has a really rustic and eclectic look. Speaking of kitchens, definitely keep your eyes open for any organizational items you can find at the thrift store. You're going to get a better deal there than anywhere else. I found this guy for a couple dollars and this one for a couple dollars. Brought them home for some kitchen organization. Of course, you're going to want to clean these up really well too. These went straight into the sink with some soap and water. So this one went up into the cabinet for our pasta bowls. Worked perfect for that. Easy to just grab these out when we were needing them. And then the black one I put into a different bottom cabinet. We were needing something to organize the lids of all of our pots and pans, and that one worked out perfectly for that. I can't tell you how many wreaths I've bought from the thrift store. I always head there and grab them first because you can either take off what's already on them or you're gonna find them plain all ready for you. This one was only $3. This would be well over 10 bucks at the craft store. So always check the thrift store for items like this before you head to the craft store to save some money. I also want to show you this really cool new gadget that I got. It is a melting pot. So instead of using a hot glue gun, this is so good for using with your florals. So I'll show you how this works. It just melts down some little blocks of hot glue for you, and then you just kind of add it onto your wreath with your stems. All of my stems are reused. I always peel them off of old floral pieces and stash them away. So I grabbed some hydrangeas and some roses and some Dollar Tree greenery, and we're gonna piece this wreath together. That was only $3. So I'm gonna be using a combination of the hot glue and some wire for this. So as you can see, I used the Dollar Tree greenery as the base here, and then we're gonna start adding the flowers on top of that. So just cut the heads of the flowers off and then just stuck those little stems into the pot of glue and then moved it over to the wreath and kind of stuck them in here and there. Now obviously this melting pot is not necessary, but I always like trying out new crafting supplies, and if I like them, I like to share them with you. So if you make a lot of floral arrangements or wreaths, this would be a great addition to those crafters out there. I'll definitely link it down below for you. I really like it, and it just kind of makes this process go a little bit more quicker. Once those bigger flowers were glued into place, then I took some of these kind of cattail style spring flowers that are also from Dollar Tree and stuck them into the sides, just kind of built it out from the center flowers. So here's again what that $3 thrift store wreath looked like, and now how it looks today. Beautiful for spring. Add some color to my front door, just use some stems and greenery I already had, and not too bad for a $3 wreath. So just like those metal canisters that I shared with you earlier, I love finding thrift store finds that have multiple uses, or it's kind of a 2-in-1. Just like this milk bottle that had some corks in it for only $2.79. So let's start with the corks that were inside this first. We are going to take a Sharpie marker and we are just going to use them as some gardening markers. Super easy to do. I found ones that were more plain and didn't have a bunch of writing on the side. And then we're just gonna write with a Sharpie on the side whatever we are wanting to mark in our garden, and in this case, writing oregano. And then to make these little stakes, we're gonna grab some bamboo skewers from Dollar Tree, and we're gonna stick the pointy end into the bottom of these corks. And again, coming in with our handy dandy tin snips that I mentioned earlier, $5 Walmart, get them. They work great for these too. Cutting through wood like popsicle sticks, and these bamboo skewers, just cutting them a little bit shorter so they're not too long. And then we can take them out to our garden and stick them into our garden. This was so fun last summer. My son really got into gardening, so we had a whole side of this tower garden that was all herbs, and then the other side had some fruits and veggies. And we just had so much fun with this. The top of it, he planted some flowers too, and it was the highlight of our summer. And it was fun to see my son get really into gardening. He's only 10 years old, so start him young, right? Now let's work on this milk bottle. So I headed to Dollar Tree, grabbed some of these stones and put them into the bottom. It's going to add some weight to this, and we are going to turn this into a tiki torch. Now, obviously, you want to be very careful with this. We're going to use a funnel to funnel in our tiki torch fuel into this glass bottle. Now, of course, we're going to need a wick for this, and you're going to need a copper coupling reducer and a washer. I will link these down below for you so you can recreate this, and it makes it easier to find. Sometimes when you're at the store, it's just a pain to go through all of the little copper pieces and the washers and make it all fit. So I'll link it down below for you. You just put the wick through the coupling reducer, put the washer underneath, and then this is going to sit right on top of your glass bottle, and then that tiki torch fuel will feed up the wick. You can light your tiki torch and it creates a nice flame. It's going to keep the bugs away and give you a little bit of light, especially in the evening time. We use this all summer long, and I didn't have to refill the fuel one time, so it actually lasts quite a while too. Now, of course, there's a big warning here. This is a fire hazard, so be responsible with this. Keep kids and pets away from it, and just use caution if you're going to recreate this project. Next up is this really cool solar light lantern that I found for $3. You're going to find that I love lighting sources, especially for outside, to set the mood and give you a little extra lighting whenever you're enjoying the outside. This one had a little cage with it, so we're going to take some Spanish moss, put that down into the bottom of this lantern, and create a little succulent planter. Now, you could use air plants, or you could get the faux ones from Dollar Tree like I'm using here. We're just going to stick them right down into that Spanish moss. Now, I did my handiwork, tried to get the solar light part of this lantern to work, and it just didn't. So if you can find something like this, I would suggest finding a different solar light to put on top, or you can grab the little solar lights from Dollar Tree and stick that on top. That would work too, or leave it off altogether, because unfortunately I just didn't get a whole lot of light after doing some work to this one. So definitely check whenever you're at the thrift store if things are gonna work or not. Unfortunately, this one really did not. It had just the tiniest little light, and that was about it. So I didn't get the glow that I was hoping for, but I tried with this one, and it still looks cute as just a planter. And then speaking of another lighting source, I found these cool tea light hangers for only $3 at the thrift store, and thought I just have to get these. I didn't quite know what I was going to do with them until I got home and started kind of coming up with some ideas. So ultimately, I decided we are going to make an outdoor chandelier. So another great Dollar Tree find are these wire wreath rings. They come in a set of 3. We're going to use the largest one for this project, and they come gold, so I took mine outside and gave it a couple coats of black spray paint. Now we want this chandelier to hang, so I also grabbed one of these black planter baskets from Dollar Tree, and we're just going to take the hanger part off of this. Of course, keep the basket part, but we are going to take the chains off of this and then attach it to our new wreath. And then here you can see it hanging. I put this up underneath our porch, our front porch, so it'd be pretty at nighttime when we're sitting on the front porch. And then this is another really cool find, are these battery powered tea lights that also come with a remote. So I thought it would be just awful to have to turn on every single one of these tea lights individually and set them into the little holders. So I figured out that problem. You just turn these on and then you can use the remote control to turn them off and on instead of having to do it individually. This is another awesome item, and I will definitely link these down in the description box below for you. So we're just going to take those tea lights and put them into each one of those individual little hooks and hangers that we found at the thrift store and add them onto that wreath. And this is a really fun addition to our front porch. It gave it some ambiance, but also be cute to kind of hang some in a tree or in your home somewhere and do this inside too. So I just got a really cool new machine last year, so I'm always looking for fun things at the thrift store that I can burn with it, and it is this really cool X-Tool M1. I love this thing. I have used it for the graduation party, Christmas gifts, for Father's Day, Mother's Day. I have done so many things with this machine. It can burn wood, it can replace your Cricut machine and cut vinyl. So I will have this link down in the description box below for you. I also have a coupon code for you down there as well. If you can operate a Cricut machine or a vinyl machine, you can absolutely operate this thing. It takes a picture of the surface and then you use SVG files just like you would a regular machine, a regular vinyl machine. You use the same files. So if you already have a bunch of SVG files for a vinyl machine, you can use them with this machine as well. You just take whatever files you want to burn or engrave or cut, and you line them up with the photo that this machine takes, and then the machine goes to work. And in this case, I'm making some cute wood coasters that I found at the thrift store, some little bumblebee designs. We love bumblebees now because, you know, our dog's name is Honey, so we did our whole porch in a bumblebee theme. Love it. She's the cutest, and so are these little coasters. So it doesn't take very long at all, and it just burns a design onto the wood. You can add some felt to the back of the wood, and then you have some nice coasters that only cost me $1. So I will definitely have all those materials and information linked down below for you if you want to look more into it. It's a great big new fad that is coming around in the crafting world. Oh, and I forgot to mention, also make sure to seal them. If you're going to be using these as coasters, definitely give them a coat of polyacrylic. It's going to seal the wood in and keep them a little bit more waterproof for when you're using them as coasters. I love thrifting all year, but especially for Christmas time. Christmas is my favorite time to be crafting. So I found this $3 cutting board. You can get new cutting boards, obviously, but not one with all the character like you can if you head to the thrift store. So you can see this one is well loved. We're just gonna add a really pretty stencil design to this with some regular vinyl. To do that, you just basically cut your design on your vinyl machine and then weed out the actual design and leave the rest of it behind so you have a stencil. We're gonna apply this with some transfer tape. So just take your transfer tape, put it on top of your vinyl, take your squeegee, go over the whole design, remove the design from the paper backing, and then center it onto your piece. And in this case, it is the cutting board. Then you're just going to very carefully remove that transfer sheet to reveal your stencil design. I also came in with some scissors and cut off the sides just so I didn't have those in the way as I was painting. Now I will say I absolutely love using chalk paint, and you'll see that being used the majority of the time in my crafting because it just sticks to about everything, and whenever you're stenciling it also is a thicker paint, so it's less likely to bleed underneath your edges. So very carefully I'm coming in with a foam paintbrush and dabbing up and down. That's another trick to make sure you don't get too much paint bleed whenever you are painting on top of stencils. So I'm just coming in and adding paint here and there where I want it, some white and some red, and getting a really cool custom design. Some people like to peel their vinyl whenever it's still wet. Some people like to wait till it's dry. I like to wait till it's dry, but it's totally up to you here. You can do either or. Just make sure to get all the vinyl off of your design, let it dry completely, and then you can start decorating your piece. As you can see, I left some blank space at the top because I knew I was going to be adding some embellishments here. So we're going to add some ribbon and a bow and some greenery to give this even more of a Christmassy look. So obviously I gave this a Christmas look, but you can also grab cutting boards from the thrift store and give them whatever look you want, ones that you can use year round. And the cool thing is you can flip this over to the back side and give it a different look too, and be able to get two looks in one if you're gonna be using them for decorative purposes in your kitchen. I also like just finding things at the thrift store that I don't necessarily have to do anything to other than clean it up. And this glass bowl was definitely calling my name. I love anything with a little bit of the brass or the antique gold look. And that cut glass is just so popular and on trend right now. So I did splurge just a little bit. To me, $7 is a little bit of a splurge at the thrift store. But since I didn't have to do anything to it, definitely thought it was worth it. So I just added this to a shelf, added some greenery around it, and add some vase filler to the inside. I also love that this is a piece you could use year round, so I can take the bells out, take the pine cones out, and just put some everyday vase filler in there and use it year round too. Pre-framed wood signs is another item that I keep my eye out for at the thrift store because you can get these so much cheaper versus having to make them yourself. As you can see, this one was only $4 and it just had a few little words on there, so it was easy to take some white paint, go right over those words, and give me a blank canvas. So again, we're gonna make this one for Christmas. We're gonna give it a really cool look. So this one's gonna say Noel. I did not cut the O out, and you'll see why here in just a minute, but I just cut some black vinyl out and added those letters to the front of the sign. But of course, you can make this for year round and put welcome or home on it and leave the O out and do the same idea. So once I got that all on there and centered, then it was time to add some of this red paint. So I'm using this as a stencil design as well. Totally up to you. You could just do the vinyl if you want, but I thought a red sign for Christmas would be perfect. So I took some red chalk paint here, went over the letters, and also went all the way up to the edges and decided I wasn't going to trust myself. Sometimes I can get crazy with the paint and I just wasn't feeling it this day, so came in with some painter's tape and taped off the edges so I could get all the way up to the edge and get a nice clean cut line. So after 2 coats of red paint, I'm going to remove that painter's tape, and I'm also going to take my weeding tool and remove that black vinyl. So now we are going to add the O, and we're going to flip this over to the back side, kind of pop open the back sides, because I'm also going to drill a small hole in this, because our O is actually going to be a wreath that I'm going to make out of Dollar Tree lit garland. So the garland from Dollar Tree, you just have a little battery pack in there. It's fairy lights and then has some greenery wrapped around it. We're going to pull that through the hole so the battery pack is on the back side, and then we're going to use our hands to just kind of mock up a circle in the size that we need for our O and for the wreath, kind of twist the wire around each other so it stays together. We're going to tack this down with some glue and also tack down the battery pack on the other side too. So for only about $5.25 minus some paint and some vinyl, I have a custom Christmas sign that also lights up. I think that's a pretty good bargain. It looks so cute. Very, very pretty at nighttime whenever you turn those lights on. You could also probably find some remote controlled fairy lights and do that too, and just use whatever greenery you have and kind of incorporate some fairy lights. If I can find some, I'll link that down below for you. But I love this sign. You could use it indoors or out. If you use it outdoors, definitely keep it under a covered patio. So I already mentioned that I love looking for books at the thrift store. These are a little bit more pricey, but these were antique books, and they also had beautiful colored covers. So I grabbed a red and green one, perfect for Christmas time, giving you a little pop of color here and there and a little bit of a raised tray kind of effect, so you can layer on some other decor. Super easy to do. And these books were, I think, about $5 each, so another little bit of a splurge, but they're antique and I will be using them for years to come. So this is not an antique, but I was in love with bells this holiday season. This one was only $2. It looked like it needed some help though, so we're gonna do that today. We're gonna take off the sticker and all the greenery off the top, and we're gonna give this more of an antique gold look or a brass look versus the kind of flat black. So I love this metallic gilding paste. I'll link it down below for you. It actually has a little sponge in the top that you can use, or you can just come in with a foam foam brush, which is what I did here because there was so much detail on this bell that it helped to kind of get down into those cracks and crevices. And as you can see, as I'm adding this gilding paste, it actually really helps the detail of this bell really pop and stand out. I did like the black finish on it as the base color, so I left it that first and then just gave it one coat of this gilding paste to give it more of an updated look. See, look how beautiful this turns out. Such a simple little update to it really made it pop and so beautiful. So we're gonna actually add this bell to a bunch of greenery. So this is 2 stems of greenery from Hobby Lobby. It has pretty little pine cones on it. I just layered them on top of each other and then hooked the stems over to the back side so you didn't really see them too much, and then took some of this velvet green ribbon, made a little simple bow with some tails that we're going to also attach to the top of this bunch of greenery. Before we add that bow, we're going to take some floral wire and wire this bell to the top of the greenery first. It's going to also secure this bell in place for us, but it's also going to give us the option to remove the bell and use it later years down the road in different ways if we want to. I like to create projects like that so I have some versatility depending on what I want to do year to year. Then I just add a little bit of hot glue to add the bow, and then you can use this to put on your front door if you want, or as you can see, it just hooks right onto this beautiful gold lantern that I have. It turns it from an everyday lantern into one for Christmas time and for winter time, but it's easy to just take this right back off, tuck it away until next year, and bring it back out for years to come. Please take a second, hit that thumbs up button. That tells me that you enjoy thrift flip videos. Maybe I'll make more in the future. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. Leave me a comment down below. Hit subscribe if you are new, and I'll have more budget-friendly DIY videos popping up on your screen. Go ahead, click one of those, and I will see you over there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a creative day.